Fala pessoal, estou aqui com a Riley Games, ela que é uma nadadora profissional nos Estados Unidos e ela inclusive tem vídeos que ficaram muito famosos na internet dando conta da sua experiência de ter competido contra um trans, o Lia Thomas, que inclusive quebrou todos os recordes em competição de natação feminina. E essa é exatamente a primeira pergunta que eu vou fazer a ela. Riley.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Riley, first of all, thank you very much. It's nice to see you again. We met ourselves at a CPAC in DC this last week. And it's a great honor to talk with you and see that we have a lot of Americans and stand on the same side of us down here in Brazil. And my first question actually is to ask you to talk to us here in Brazil about your experience. How was compete against a transgender in a swimming pool?
Right. First, let me give you a little background on myself. I started swimming at the age of 4 and all the way through college. So I've swam competitively for 18 years. It's impossible to put into words the amount of time and the sacrifices that you make to compete at that level. I've tried for the Olympics twice. I've done some really incredible things in my career. And so my senior year of college, we were told we would be competing against biological male Lia Thomas. Upon looking up who Will Thomas was as a male, we were able to see that William Thomas, which was his male name, was ranked 462nd among the men. Of course, transitioning to female, now Lia Thomas was leading every female in the nation.
It's the final in the women's 500-yard freestyle. That should be safe. The 3-time Ivy League champion Lia Thomas was the top qualifier in the prelims. She swam 4.
Yeah, she was really solid this morning in the prelims. I didn't think she took a hard stroke the entire 500.
A great swim in the prelims earlier. And in those 2 Texas Longhorns, we mentioned Erica Sullivan. Work for it. She was pushed over the first 350 meters. Thomas wins the NCAA championship, and she's the favorite again tomorrow in the 200-yard freestyle. Wyatt takes second, Erica Sullivan third, and now Lia Thomas is with Elizabeth Beisel.
Leah, how did that performance measure up to your expectations coming into this meet tonight?
I didn't have a whole lot of expectations for this meet. I was just happy to be here, trying to race and compete as best as I could.
That first,
What a surprise.
Yeah, right. That first day of competition at our national championships, which is of course the meet where you have the fastest swimmers in the country come together and race. I watched on the side of the pool as Lia Thomas again swam to a national title, beating out Olympians, American record holders, the most impressive female swimmers of all time by seconds, by body lengths. So that next day of competition, Thomas and I competed against each other in the 200 freestyle. And you asked me how I felt. It felt like I was going into this race with my hands tied behind my back. It's impossible, even myself who's put in so much work, so much dedication, so much time, it felt impossible for me to beat this person who has male advantage. Males, of course, they have larger heart, larger lungs. Of course, they're taller. When you go through puberty as a male, there are irreversible advantages males are given, and that's obvious. It doesn't take a biologist or a scientist to know that males are advantageous when it comes to something that requires athleticism and strength.
If I can interrupt you just for a while, because people who say that transgender competing against women is something that the science prove that is something that is fair. Can you tell us about, from the point of view of the biology, if this is really fair, what does the science tells you about that?
We have science that tells us that is not true. Science has evolved in a way where we now know even a year, 2 years, 3 years on hormone suppressors, it does not change or it changes your testosterone levels, but it does not make them computable to the levels of a female. The average female's testosterone levels is anywhere from 0.8 to 1.2 nanomoles per liter. The average male is 20 times higher than that. So even with these men reducing their testosterone levels, they're not reducing it enough to where it's fair. And even if they were to get to fair levels, there are still certain things that will never change with hormone suppression. Like I said, your heart size, your lung size. It sounds silly, but even the size of your throat, men have a 40% larger throat than women, which is a huge factor to success in swimming. Of course, you want a larger throat to get more air into your body to oxygenate your muscles. So science tells us this is not fair. And I also think it's kind of ironic that the same people telling us to follow the science, this is the same people who told us that during COVID. And look at what's happened there. These people are not following the accurate, real, unbiased science. There is simply no credible medical professional whose expertise is in physiological development who would tell you that men can be computable with women, even with testosterone suppression.
Other thing is, this week here in Brazil, on March 8th, the most voted congressman in the last election, Nicolas Ferreira, he made a speech in the Congress telling that women are losing space for transgenders, mainly in competition, in female competition. It's very curious that the opposite doesn't happen. You don't see a transgender woman that became a man competing against men, in the MMA, UFC, or even soccer, whatever. But the thing is, what is happening now with Nicolas Ferreira is the left is trying to cancel him, trying to say that his speech was all about, they say, transgender phobia. Do you have something like that in US? What happened with you? The left also tried to cancel you in US?
Absolutely. I get labeled all the time as a transphobe or a bigot, or I'm so hateful and I'm not inclusive, and what I'm doing is not kind. But in reality, it's not inclusive to allow these men to compete with us. It's exclusive. We're excluding female athletes. It's not kind to do this. And these exact comments that people comment all the time on my social media, this is the exact reason why more people who are in my position aren't speaking out. I know how my competitors felt. I know how Leah Thomas's teammates felt because I've had great conversations with them. And they feel exactly how I feel, but they're so scared to talk about it because they don't want to be canceled. And I saw that video and I thought it was incredible. He was kind of making a mockery of the people who are making a mockery of women. Trans women who think womanhood is about long hair and makeup and heels and dresses. That is not what womanhood is. And it's offensive. It makes a mockery, especially in sports, of everything that I've dedicated my entire life to. Women are more than just a testosterone level, and we're more than just the hair and the makeup and the dresses.
Very nice. The same Congressman, Nicolas Ferreira, he got a flight this week too. And there was a former big brother in this aircraft and started to discuss with him, saying that he was someone that transphobic man and things like that. And this former big brother, after all of the discussion inside of the plane, she told that it was 200 passengers supporting this congressman, Nicolas Ferreira, and only 2 people supporting her opinion. She was defending the transgender competing against women. Do you feel the same? I mean, do you think the majority is supporting you, or the majority thinks that you are a transphobic woman?
The overwhelming majority supports my stance. Even within, so obviously we have our left and our right. Of course, nearly 100%, if not 100% of the right agrees with me. But even within the left, we have these Democrat delegates and Congress members who are voting in opposition of everything that protects women. But even within the left, there was a recent poll that came out that 60 to 70% of even Democrats don't agree with this. And so
inside
these people,
of the left, 60 to 70%.
Yeah. And nearly 85% of independent voters. Again, this is in regards to sports. These people know that men and women are different. So these legislators who are voting to, allow to have men and women sports, they're not even representing their own party accurately. I can wholeheartedly attest that majority of the people, regardless of where you stand on this political spectrum, agree with me, agree with you, and our stances on this issue.
We know that in U.S. the states Congress, they are more notorious, sometimes even more than the federal Congress in D.C. How is this issue handled inside of the state Congress in U.S.? Do you have some states that are creating new laws talking that is forbidding this kind of situation?
Yes, we do. So in the US, we obviously have 50 states, and of those 50 states, there have been 19 so far that have passed some sort of bill protecting women's sports, with lots more in the process. Traveling to these different states and testifying and telling my story. And I know that video you shared to your Instagram, that was actually me testifying in Virginia. But last week, I just went to Kansas. Next week, I'm going to Texas to testify on this. So it's a big deal. There's lots of states who are in the process of protecting women, which is important because we need our leadership, the people who put these policies in place, to stand up and fight for us. Because like I said, there are so many in my position who are too scared to fight for themselves.
Mm-hmm. One of my last questions is, some of the people that have the same opinion of us, they say that you would boycott this kind of competition when women compete together with transgender. Why you don't do that? And what are the facts around you for you take this decision? Because it means that you have sponsors, you have sometimes the college, you have the media. How is for you to take this decision? If is it something that all the other women also debate about? To take this decision?
Yeah, it definitely is. And truthfully, I think boycotting is the most powerful way to make changes. Of course, like I said, we have different legislature going on, but boycotting is the most powerful way because these people, these organizations who are allowing this, they will follow the money. And if these people don't race, they don't compete, that will make changes. But there is so much pressure to not do so, especially at the collegiate level. When you sign a scholarship, your school essentially owns you. They tell you what to do. They own you. They have full say in everything you do, which a lot of people don't realize. And so it's hard. I know a lot of parents who don't want to speak out because they don't want to lose their corporate level job. There's a lot of pressure. We live in this cancel culture, and I'm sure it's the same in Brazil, where people will come for you if you try to state basic facts, to state the truth. People will try to cancel you. And so girls are scared. They would rather be collateral damage in this whole issue than to speak their mind and speak how they truly feel. But these girls don't realize how much is at stake. It's not just our competition, but what about the future generation of athletes? What about these girls who are going to be in our same position one day? There's a saying, when you give them an inch, they take a mile. And that's exactly what we're seeing in our sport. And so we need athletes, we need parents, we need medical professionals, we need everyone in the position to make changes, to use their voice and advocate for what's right and what's fair and what's moral.
I have a daughter of 2 years old, and for sure I want her to practice sports and maybe one day go to the Olympics. Why not? And for sure this fight is also about her. Riley, my last question for you actually is that what is your message for all the parents that have their kids, their daughters, and in this kind of situation, or they are starting a tournament for teenagers looking forward maybe to go to the Olympics? What are the messages do you deliver for these parents?
My message to the parents is to be strong for your child. They don't have a voice yet, or they don't understand the implications of allowing men and women's sports. But me, someone who has experienced it firsthand, I do have experience and I know what's at stake. Along with obviously the unfair competition, we were forced to give up our consent in areas where we undress with a biological male. There's so much at stake here, and these parents, they need to get involved. I know no one wants to ruffle any feathers, but feathers need to be ruffled. Get involved. Look at what's happening in the education system. Look at what's happening around you. Step up and be a voice for your kids and stay informed on the topic so you don't believe the issue or believe the lie that this is not happening. That's happening in the US a lot. Is we have our left who is saying, this isn't really happening. Why are we worried about this issue? It's happening. It's happening all over the US. I could list off 100 different examples right now of girls who have my exact same experience in competing against a male and again, changing in a locker room with a fully exposed and intact male. So we need the parents to be willing to use their voice loud and boldly. So Leah Thomas was a 6'4" biological male who still had full male parts. And we were not forewarned that we would be sharing that changing space with a male. That is not something we ever had the ability to give our consent to, which is so wrong. A few years ago, it would have been considered sexual harassment to allow a male in a woman's locker room. But now, not only is it just happening, but these large organizations and these institutions in our left, they're encouraging this. They're celebrating having men in women's locker rooms and stealing our awards.
Do you think all the transgender, they support, the position of Leah Thomas?
Actually, I've talked to several people within the LGBTQ community who are on my side. They're very frustrated by this situation because it paints them in a bad light. When the transgender community has come out, trying to take the rights of women, it paints the whole LGBTQ community as a negative. And that's not the image they want to portray. They want equal rights, not more rights. And that's what we're seeing with the transgender community is they don't want equal rights. They want to take our rights.
Mm-hmm. What about the feminist movement? Do they support your position?
I've seen it go both ways. We have some feminist organizations who are very strong in their stance of protecting women, biological women, what the original feminist movement was intended to do. And then we have some feminist organizations who are going the total opposite way and fighting for trans inclusion in women's sports, which is incredibly ironic. It's really sad.
Really, thank you very much for this short conversation. I'm sure that the Brazilians will pay attention more and more about this issue because it's happening in Brazil. As I always say, Brazil and the whole Latin America, we are the lab for this kind of idea that first born in United States. The left United States, they are more organized than in the Latin America, but after US, they come here for Brazil. So we are on the same side in this fight. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.